Well, news of Major General William Neil McCasland's strange disappearance is just now hitting the mainstream media. I woke up this morning to find an article from CNN, and I'm sure it will be spreading beyond that within the hours and days to come. This is 13 days after he vanished without a trace from his Albuquerque home, reportedly to go for a walk on a nearby trail without his phone, his watch, or even his glasses. He was gone without a trace. However, one clue has surfaced right in front of us, potentially a hugely consequential clue. In her latest blog posting, his wife, Susan Wilkerson, appears to reveal three major pieces of information in what some might even call a leak. Let's take a look. In my prior video, I briefly covered the unusual timing of General McCasland's disappearance, mere days after President Trump's announcement directing the Pentagon and other federal agencies to begin identifying records for public release on UAP and extraterrestrial life, which the president suggested was real. McCasland would most certainly have been called in to advise on such a project, given his extensive high-level knowledge and experience as commander of the U.S. Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. However, he vanished on the eve of the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran, blocking his story out from the mainstream news cycle for the next 12 days, allowing ample time for any possible evidence to disappear and the trail to go cold. Only a, quote, silver alert was issued, which is a statewide alert indicating an older person with dementia has wandered away from their home. It's only in the last few days the FBI has become involved and is now asking for public input, including security camera footage and such. First, I'd like to propose my own theory. I do not believe his disappearance is a result of alien abduction or involvement by foreign nations such as Russia or China, or that the president himself is somehow responsible. But what I do think, and this is purely speculation and my opinion, although it is based on similar historical accounts, is that there are deep levels within the U.S. government, unknown to Congress and even the president, call it what you like, MIB or shadow government, and such, that are responsible for suppressing any real, significant, meaningful information exposing the existence of alien life. Others who have come too close to this information in the past have met devastating effects. Some of these stories are outlined in Gray Barker's 1956 book entitled "They Knew Too Much About Flying Saucers." Men such as Harold Wilkins, a historian, researcher, and a journalist, who began publishing censored UFO reports, but was silenced through stalking by an unknown intelligence agency, and he became increasingly paranoid until he was no longer credible and died a mere shell of his former self. And there was Albert Bender, a former Air Force and head of the largest UFO research group in the world. A visit by mysterious men scared him silent for years, and later when he tried to write his own book, his home was seized by the government and destroyed, and he went into seclusion until his death. Then the Lucchese brothers, August and Dominic, a photographer and a technical researcher. They witnessed Bender's mysterious visit, received the same warning he did, and were socially silenced as they watched the effects unfold on Bender's life. I believe General McCasland's disappearance was no accident or even a medical event. I believe he was uniquely positioned to give credence to the existence of extraterrestrial life because of three distinct things. First, he had first-hand knowledge, experience and high-level clearance as commander of the U.S. Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, knowing where the bodies are buried, so to speak. Secondly, his current civilian status enabled him to speak more freely than others who would still be on active duty with stricter gag rules. And thirdly, given his recent sympathy towards public disclosure, as evidenced by his work with To the Stars Academy, which is Tom DeLonge's project, pressing for public disclosure. This brings me to the one clue that we have actually in front of our own eyes concerning the mystery of General McCasland, and it comes directly from his wife, Susan Wilkerson, a former Air Force officer and astrophysicist herself. Wilkerson wrote a blog post several days after her husband's disappearance that has many questionable features, such as a lack of expression or pleas for his safe return, and only a vague reference to a medical issue requiring daily medication without naming the issue itself, which I think led to a misleading silver alert. And there is no mention whatsoever of her husband's state of mind or thoughts or words in the days and hours leading up to his disappearance, which in hindsight would naturally be a part of a spouse's emotional processing of such a momentous and final event. Perhaps strangest of all to me is her focus on steering attention away from her husband's background and knowledge and downplaying his involvement with UAP and extraterrestrial research, to the point that she makes a belittling comment at the end of her post, which immediately struck me as the same kind of tactic politicians have always used to shame people away from talking about flying saucers and little green men, making them sound ridiculous, hysterical, and delusional. However, Wilkerson actually gives us major clues in this case, which contradict what is reported so far and even what she herself has said. The first clue is that she says her husband did not have dementia, and that the silver alert was just for another medical issue requiring medication, which he needed on a daily basis. But she'd never named the medical issue. That tells us that General McCasland was in full possession of his mental and cognitive faculties at the time of his disappearance. The second clue, and the most significant of all, in my opinion, is her statement regarding what he may or may not have known in his role at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. She writes, "Neil does not have any special knowledge about the ET bodies and debris from the Roswell crash stored at Wright-Pat." Now, let's note here what she did and did not say. She did not say the supposed ET bodies and debris from the alleged Roswell crash, which are thought to be stored at Wright-Pat. No, what she said was the ET bodies and debris, stated as fact, from the Roswell crash. Again, a statement of fact. Stored at Wright-Pat, another stated fact. This is the language Wilkerson chose to use. A highly intelligent and detail-oriented former Air Force officer and astrophysicist accustomed to balancing public speaking with careful management of classified information. In that one sentence, Susan Wilkerson gave us three major pieces of information, either unwittingly as a slip of the tongue or as a purposeful leak for those who are listening more closely. Though it seems she was giving us all the smackdown with her snark about the mothership and being abducted, what she actually communicated was quite the opposite. In that one sentence, she confirmed everything for us. that number one, the Roswell crash was real. Number two, there really are extraterrestrial bodies and debris. And number three, they are stored at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. This is what President Trump was asking to be released. Records that show the existence of extraterrestrial life. The president ordered the truth to be revealed on February 20th. And by February 27th, the man who knew where the files were hidden, who literally held the keys to the labs where those records were kept, with sympathetic views on public disclosure, he walks out of his house without his phone or watch or glasses and vanishes into thin air without a trace. The story got buried by the war breaking out the very next morning. And then, days later, his wife, a scientist herself, didn't use words such as rumored or alleged or supposed. She clearly and openly told the world that the crash was real. There really are ET bodies and debris, and they are stored at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. In conclusion, I believe this is a case of MIB containment, and General William Neil McCasland, who served our country with honor and loyalty his entire career, may have just paid the ultimate price for knowing and potentially revealing too much. Now that mainstream media has picked up his story, there will be more to learn in the coming days. Meanwhile, we can only hope for a safe return. We will be watching, and thank you for watching. Stay safe out there.